everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the SBK Betting Podcast. Looking forward to a weekend of no issues with weather. We were blown apart by Storm Dara last weekend, so sadly no Aintree. We did get Sandown on, and TC would have been very pleased to see Le de Sud strutting his stuff. He had that Grade 1 victory to his name. He looks very much the top of the Arkle division from a British trainer's perspective. At this standpoint, he was 11 to 10 on in a day where we saw John Bon do what he does best in the Tingle Creek, and he still flies the flag very highly as such a talented horse, and a horse that we look forward to seeing wherever they opt for him next. But this weekend's racing, we're back at Cheltenham. We have a 20% ACCA boost across all of Saturday's racing. It is an opt-in, of course, as always, and there's a 4-leg minimum. And we're going to get into a Racing Accas and different ways we're going to play this weekend with TC and Ross. But Ross, looking forward to this. We've got, as probably surprisingly after what we saw last weekend, slightly unseasonably, but also considering the way that we're used to Cheltenham now, good soft ground. It just always seems to dry so well, which seems to mean that we've got horses that have probably been sort of hiding under a bonnet waiting for this to come out, are back with it again. And quite like the fact that we've got Fugitive in here, as you would probably be looking forward to seeing him on his sort of favoured kind of ground, and he sort of leads the way at 9 to 2 with Sean Bowen back on board. You've got Madara for the Skeltons, his second run for them, he's 5 to 1. Galor, who had a mighty race when he was behind Il Rodotto, who you tipped up when winning at Cheltenham last time, and he's in the field at 6 to 1. So it's horses we're familiar with again, but I think that I'd be keen to know how you think Fugitive will go in this kind of race after a proper prep in last time out.
Yeah, I thought his prep last time was really solid. He got left at the start, and I know that they were frustrated that happened. I mean, I don't think any blame can be attached to Sean Bowen, but they liked to drop him out, but he just dropped himself off the back, and he had to do a lot of running down the back to get to a position to challenge. Still at the top of the hill, looked like he was going to come with a good run. And I think just his first start of the season, he is a big horse. And there's lots of sort of chat about, oh, they're giants. I've been in the yard. I'm 6'3". I can't see over the top of him. He is just humongous. And I think probably just a lack of race fitness showed. That was on the old course, moved to the new course. And they were relieved. There was a sense of relief, certainly Carl Hinch, the owner, Richard Hobson, the trainer, that he was back, because they were slightly frustrated how the season went. And I think the consideration was that a couple of hard races had perhaps soured him. So Shirley Becker, who's Richard's wife, assistant trainer, has been tasked with sweetening him up so he gets, I mean, cuddles was the word I've got written down here. That's what she told me. She's been getting lots of cuddles, really focusing on sweetening them up. This track will definitely suit him. He won off 151 last year. He's off 150. Sean Bowen's on him. He's run some really good races under Sean. There's very little not to like. I personally would perhaps have preferred a little bit of softer ground. And just at the price, 9 to 2, I just think he's a little bit short. There will be no one cheering louder for him without a penny on him than myself. But just from a selection point of view, I wanted to look elsewhere. If people have been listening to the Tuesday Miller Movers podcast, I put Madara up at 9 to 1 a couple of weeks ago. I watched the Paddy Power. He ran without his tongue tie that he normally wears. He ran without cheek pieces that he normally wears on his first start for the Skeltons with Tristan Durrell on. He ran a massively eye-catching race. He came from off the pace. Nothing comes from off the pace on the old course in those sort of handicap races. Flew up the hill, finished 4th. And I said to myself, if the handicapper doesn't go berserk with him because he was racing from a pound out the weight, he's got to be on the shortlist next time. And the handicapper didn't touch him. So he actually is going to race off a pound lower here because he was a pound out the weights last time, off 141 effectively. He's off 140 here. Cheap pieces go back on. Harry Skelton jumps onto the new course. He's going to have to show he stays this trip. This is going to be the furthest and the toughest stamina test he's had. But he won a Leopardstown listed handicap about this time last year, or Christmas last year, off 133. To go into their backyard and win a competitive listed handicap at Leopardstown, I think takes a bit of doing. I think he's absolutely chucked in here. Don't really want to play at 5 to 1, having taken 9 to 1, but he gets a £9 pull for 8 lengths with Il Rodotto. That's on the bare face of it. Then you add in the cheap piece, which I think will improve him. He'll be ridden more forward, I'm sure. And if he's not, this track would suit that hold-up style anyway. So I liked him. Couple I could cross off. Stage Star, won it off 155. He's up £7, 162. And I think they know how to beat him now. You just take him on early and he basically sulks, I think. Galore was Good effort last time off 155, but he's off 156. Don't see how he turns it around. Grandeur Dam was fourth off 136 last year, made a really good reappearance, but was beat 10 lengths by Fugitive last year. I don't see a reason why he'll close down. And Gemeronde was really impressive last time out, but I don't think Cheltenham's his track, and he's a pound higher than when he was fourth at this track in April. So the one I came down at a bigger price, and he comes with risks attached, is In Excelsis Deo. But this is definitely a more suitable track for him. He just struggles to get his jumping organised at times, and I think on the old course, it all happens too quickly. There's lots of fences on the turn, and he doesn't sight them properly, and he unseated last time, but he unseated when going well in the Paddy Power Gold Cup. He won off at this track off a mark of 137 in April. Brian Carver, I thought, gave him a really good ride until they made the mistake last time. £5 wouldn't have stopped him in April. He does come with risks attached, but I think this track will suit him well, and I would be surprised to see him finishing strongly, provided he gets to that point, and that is a bit of a proviso. But 10 to 1, I thought, was a decent enough each way price.
Okay, yeah, as you say, the horse has the prize based on, a lot of letters to his name recently. Just a quick one on Il Ridotto. Obviously, he's a horse that you tipped up last time. Freddie Gingle back on board. He is up a hefty £8. Freddie obviously taking that 3 off. A very good second in this last year, but he's high up in the weights now for a race like this to back up what he did so impressively last month.
Yeah, I just think Madara and Fugitive are both weighted to beat him, and I just have it in my head that was his Gold Cup. Like, I don't think he'll step forward at all physically for that run. He'll be there or thereabouts, and I think he's really well suited to Freddie Ginger. I think he likes the way Freddie rides him, so he might well hit the frame. But I wanted to try and find the winner, and I don't think he is.
Okay, well, that's Ross Suzuki at the December Gold Cup. TC's been in excellent form. Absolutely loves the jumps, doesn't he? So TC, let us know what you're going to follow in from your winning selection last week with Le Desert. How do you assess this Gold Cup?
Yeah, look, this is a good race, the December Gold Cup. It's a race that many punters have their eye on in terms of value and in terms of, it's a good handicap in each way betting race, but also if you can find the winner, you're likely to get a good return. Now, I fully respect a horse like Fugitive. He won this race last year. He should be vying for favouritism once again, £1 lower in the weights, and he ran pretty well in the trial as well. So he was the first horse on my shortlist, and it wouldn't be surprising if he won. However, I just wonder if there's an even better horse that is handicapped to win this race than Fugitive, and Madara is the one that really stood out to me. This gelding's only 5. He's an up-and-coming force in this division against a group of experienced and fully exposed horses, the likes of Fugitive, etc. Last year, he won a 2-mile chase at this meeting and did so extremely impressively. That was for trainer Sophie Leach. And then he went on to win a listed race at Leopardstown in the spring, in February, in fact. And that was kind of the first time that Madara really stamped his name on the scene. Now, he's only had 3 runs since, and he hasn't gone close necessarily in any of them. But there was a big upward trend last time up, first time for Dan and Harry Skelton, when he finished 4th, and it was an extremely eye-catching performance. Now, we know that Harry and Dan look for these Saturday fixtures. They're trying to win the big pot for leading trainer and leading jockey, and Madara is well handicapped to do so. And what's most interesting for me is that his previous trainer, Sophie Leach, said, and I quote, because Racing Post have the quote there, it says, "I wanted to run him in the December Gold Cup last year, but because of his weight and his age, he was going to be too far down the weights, and either he wasn't going to get in, or he was just, going to be receiving weight from horses that are way too classy." So this has always kind of been the plan. I love the trip for him, and I think he's the horse to beat. So I'll take Madara.
Right, as I mentioned, we have a 20% ACCA boost across all of Saturday's racing, and we're going to ask TC and Ross for their ACCA for this weekend. There's great racing at Cheltenham, there's good racing all over the place, and we would like Ross and TC, as said, to pick 4 horses to go into that ACCA. There could be a nap and the next best selection within that, as we always do. We don't want to bypass that. But in keeping with SBK's offer, Ross will ask you the 4 horses that you're hoping to put into this and to win big Saturday.
So I've got 4. ACCAs aren't massively my thing. I only bet on horse racing. I leave the football and the rugby and all that sort of stuff alone. And the prices I tend to play at don't really lend themselves to ACCAs, because if you can find one winner, you're generally happy enough. But the 4 I've got, the 12.40 at Cheltenham, Peaky Boy, steps up to 3 mile, 1.5 furlongs. I've been really impressed by everything he's done. He won a maiden hurdle and a novice hurdle last year at this track. And the maiden hurdles worked out really well. Both times really strong at the finish, over 2 mile, 4 furlong. Returned and made his chasing debut at Cheltenham, which is I mean, it's amusing. Django Bay makes his chasing debut on Friday at Cheltenham. Nicky constantly tells us that he doesn't like to go to Cheltenham for their debuts, and seems to send more than a few there. I thought Peaky Boy was really brave. His jumping kept him in it. Nico went down the inside, and he was brave a couple of times when there weren't necessarily strides there. Again, I think he's a horse that will suit switching to the new track from the old track. I think it'll give him more time to see his fences, go in a gear slower, help his jumping. He's a strong stayer over 2 mile 4 furlongs. And I think he's got every chance of winning this and stepping on to better things for Nicky Henderson. Second selection is in the 205 at Doncaster, and it's Doc picked me. And I should stress this is purely a form chance. I've not spoken to Richard or Shirley about him. He's a course and distance winner over hurdles. In a promising hurdle run last time at Uttoxeter, where I felt he got racing too far out, got into a bit of a protracted duel, and the two of them got swallowed up late on, and he weakened. He's off now a mark of 127. That is actually his last winning mark as well. And then you factor in that he gets £7 taken off by Callum Pritchard. I've warmed to Callum Pritchard. I was a little bit slow onto the bandwagon. I thought he got a bit overhyped early, and I'd seen him make a few errors. He was brilliant in the Badger Beers chase. And I think actually, if you asked him, what sort of race do you want to ride in? 3 mile handicap chase suits him really well. He comes from a hunting background. He's very good to the obstacles. I think he likes it when he's got a bit of time to organise himself. I think that's a really good jockey booking. So I think Doc picked me will go well in the 205. The third selection is Deploy to Spy, again at Doncaster, their final race, the 3:15, for Ollie Murphy and Keelan Woods taking a ride because Sean Bowen is obviously down at Cheltenham. He's 3 from 4 over hurdles. I think it might have been 4 from 4. He was still in there shouting on his hurdling debut when he got brought down. He bolted up in his handicap debut last time. He went through the race so easily, very powerful through the line. That was at Aintree. He's up £7 to a mark of 125. I don't see that stopping him. I think other than Altabelli, who makes his seasonal return, and that's a horse I've constantly opposed throughout his career, largely with success. It doesn't look a deep race. And I think he'll take all the beating in the 3:15. And then the final selection comes in the 3:35 from Cheltenham, and it's Joyeuse, a mare whose pedigree obviously you all know really well, the family of Epatante. She beat Tutti Quanti and Into the Park at Taunton on her hurdling debut. Tutti Quanti's rated 125, Into the Park's 123. She gets in here off just 119. I thought she made a really promising seasonal return at Ascot behind Celtic Dino. He's rated 134. And Wade Out, he's rated 128. They both had race fitness on their side. And when you watch it, and I would encourage people, if you've got spare 5 minutes, go back and just watch the last 2 minutes of it. For me, it is why Nico de Boinville was so hugely undervalued as a jockey. He does look a bit different in the finish, and they say he's weak and all the rest of it. That horse could not win. The best she could be was third, and he made sure she was only third. He didn't take an ounce out of her more than he needed to. She'll have stepped forward massively for that. I think she's really well handicapped. The Scoutons have got the top weight in here, and they had quite a few in, so they had a few horses to choose from. So I'm very wary of their runner, but take no chances, she is called. I think Joyeuse off a very low weight, clearly a talented family, and I think she'll prove more than up to this.
Yeah, she's very unexposed, isn't she? And it's probably quite unlike Nicky Henderson to get a horse relatively well handicapped. So off 119, he's done quite a good job, but she's not done a huge amount of racing, and she does have that rating of 119 for that mare's handicap hurdle. That's the final race at Cheltenham on Saturday. TC, what about you? An ACCA for you to play with this weekend. Good racing all over. We've got a bit of all-weather action as well, if you so fancy.
I have to admit that I don't play Accas. I know plenty of you do, and with the boost that SBK are running, then why wouldn't you? My personal opinion is I play singles. So this feature was a little bit difficult for me. However, I have got the 4 selections. I'm going to start with 3 jumps horses, and then there is an all-weather pick at the end. The first horse to talk about is Tommy's Law. He runs in the 12:17 at Newcastle. He's got seconditis. I mean, if you look at his form figures, his last 5 runs, he's got 2s next to his name. And he's not the type that many people are rushing to be putting into their accumulators. That being said, Lucinda Russell's found the ideal spot for him. This looks like a very winnable race, and it's only his second attempt over 2 miles 6 furlongs. So I think Tommy's Law is a good starting point for any accumulator on Saturday. Secondly, a short price likely to be, I imagine. We haven't got price at the time of recording, but Horace's Pearl in the 11:55 at Doncaster, I'd be whacking into an accumulator or a combo bet anyway. He's 4 from 4 in his career. He won a Grade 2 bumper last season and did so in fantastic fashion. Now, he didn't jump very well on his hurdling debut, which is a problem, but he still won by 6 lengths, and he just may have too much class for his opposition in the 11:55 at Donny. One more at Doncaster for you, and that is Norman Fletcher. This horse is actually my nap this week. I don't expect he'll be favourite, and obviously Ross has put one up against me here. So we're going head to head. But Norman Fletcher's a horse who's been a slowly progressive type. They've always highly regarded him, but he just hasn't jumped very well. And in his bumper days, he wasn't able to put everything together on the track. The presence of the Ollie Murphy trained horse, who Ross has talked about in this race, will make his price fair, I believe. And he's only going to be improving for every start now. So I'll take Norman Fletcher in the 3:15 at Doncaster. He could be well treated and hopefully a good bet at the value price. Finally, we will go to the all-weather, and it's for a race fit horse in Misty Grey. It's not the best of events. It's the 5:45 at Southall. There's probably only one against him that could beat him in this contest. But he used to be very prolific on the all-weather. I think he's 6 from 21 in his career on synthetic surfaces. He had a good spell on the turf this summer and into the autumn, being freshened up for this contest. Ross Orion takes over, and he's just very well treated by the conditions of this race.
Okay, and we'll push Ross and TC from your Accas selections for maybe a nap and next best if you had to. Ross, if you had to take two from that bunch, and if we were doing our normal nap and next best, what would it be?
I think Peaky Boy would be my nap. I really like this horse. I think he's going to go on to be a really smart chaser. So let's say Peaky Boy, the nap, and then the next best on Deployed to Spy or Joyeuse. Let's say Joyeuse. I think she'll be a slightly better price than Deployed to Spy.
Okay, and for TC, the same again?
The next best is Misty Grey. I feel like the first two that I mentioned are going to be too short a price to put up as my nap or next best. And Misty Grey on the all-weather, we know I love a bit of the all-weather. Hopefully he'll be able to pick up where he left off last year on the synthetic surface and provide a next best winner. But fingers crossed that I can just beat Ross with that nap.
Super. So we've given you a feel for the racing on Saturday. Obviously, that December Gold Cup, a great race. I've got to remind everyone that one of my favourite horses in training, Skyjack Hijack, goes for a big one in the Albert Bartlett on Saturday. And I think fair credit for the team, because I think they were going to give him a bit of a break, but they want to see how he jumps at Cheltenham and if he can really show off what he's done at some smaller tracks, the likes of Cartmel and Newcastle, which is a grade 1 track. But I'm very hopeful that this horse can continue on his rise, and I'm hoping that he can show off that jumping to good style in a race which probably hasn't thrown up the deepest competitively for him. But as we say, we've got that 20% ACCA boost across all of Saturday's racing. You must opt in. It's a 4-leg minimum. TC and Ross have given you their thoughts and their options for that. So good luck if you are joining. Got to mention to you again that if you are a new SBK user, you get £40 in free bets when you sign up and bet £10 for the first time. Head to SBK for lots of other offers and promotions throughout the weekend. We are getting ever closer to the Christmas period, and we will have a Christmas special for this podcast with so much racing coming up from this country and also over in Ireland as well. So keep your eyes out, make sure to subscribe and like, and we'll see you very soon.